afternoon. I'm Tanya Blum with the Great Lakes Bay Manufacturers Association, and I would like to thank the following sponsors for the support of this event today. Dart Bank, Block Performance, Granger Waste Management, Tina Herbert and the Flag Robotics 7085 team, the Workshop Vocational Center, and Michigan State College of Engineering. Thank you.
Thank you, Tanya. Michigan State University College of Engineering students are shaping the future of manufacturing while sustaining Michigan's historical legacy as a manufacturing powerhouse. Please help me welcome Diana Villigren and Kylie Keller to the podium.
Good afternoon, everyone. I want to start off by saying thank you. Gracias. Obrigada. English, Spanish, Portuguese. How can I begin to describe the honor and privilege it is to be standing in front of you all and in the presence of some of our original Rosies? The impact the Rosie the Riveters have had on manufacturing industry and women's participation in the workforce is something that cannot be described in words, yet it is something that we are witnessing on this very day. Take a moment to look around you. Look at us today, coming together to celebrate and honor those who paved the path for many of us. Today, we are evidence of the lasting impact these women have had. We are the history. We are proof that what may have been a call to action years ago is now one of the biggest contributing factors to the American economy. I started my journey in manufacturing setting in 2019 during my first internship at General Motors. I will be completely honest, I had no idea what the world had prepared for me when I began my journey as a mechanical engineering student at Michigan State University. My whole life I grew up picking vegetables and fruits. I come from a loving migrant farm working family who followed the seasonal crops from Florida to Michigan every year. I grew up in a family who instilled in me the importance of hard work and dedication that have been fundamental to my being. I will say over the course of my degree and my internships, I drew great pride in attending a university where they work tirelessly to attract women and young girls for STEM careers. I grew great pride in working for a company that aspires to be the most inclusive company in the world. And I grew great pride in being a female in a male-dominated field. I came to an understanding that although there aren't many of us, there were far less before, and we are making advancements. I have learned the importance and value of representation and what we stand for. We are not just a checkbox on our teams for D&I initiatives for companies and institutions. We bring much more to the table. As once said by Liz Fosling, diversity is having a seat at the table, inclusion is having a voice, and belonging is having that voice be heard. I can tell you right now with complete certainty that women in manufacturing sure know how to make their voice heard. The nature of this industry does not allow us to be silent. We make noise when needed to show our presence. Our presence can change the energy in a room from, oh, it's not possible, to how can I help? Our presence can make someone go from we're not doing that to what will it take? We are shifting perspectives, reshaping viewpoints, and changing decisions. As a woman of color, I am often perceived as an aggressive individual for being assertive. I am often viewed as arrogant for knowing my worth and having strong character. And I am often depicted as stubborn when I would describe myself as determined. Do not allow others to define who you are and how you see yourself. If there's anything I can leave you with today, is to not set limitations on what you can and cannot do. If someone else can do it, why can't you? Step up as our original Rosies did years ago. Be true to yourself and those you love. I have learned that there may be areas where people believe you do not belong, or people assume you are not cut out for. Do not let that stop you. Shift their perspective, reshape their viewpoints, and change their decisions. Brené Brown once said, "If I get to be me, I belong. If I have to be like you, I fit in." Let that sink in. Again, do not set limitations on yourself. Do not fit in. Belong. To belong means to be the property of. Therefore, own yourself. Be proficient, walk with purpose, and take great pride. Thank you. Gracias. Obrigada.
Hello, everyone. Thank you very much for inviting me today. As was mentioned, I'm currently a junior studying mechanical engineering right down the road at Michigan State. A little bit about my background. I've held 2 internships over the past 2 summers at the same precision manufacturing company in my hometown of Grand Rapids. So pretty much prior to these experiences, I had absolutely zero manufacturing knowledge. I didn't know what a lathe was or a mill or a CNC or anything. So as you can imagine, I was a little bit nervous when they told me I would be working as a CNC machinist for parts with tolerances of plus or minus like 5 microns. I was quite nervous. Regardless, I learned an incredible amount that summer about different manufacturing processes. It was extremely valuable to be able to get that hands-on experience as a machinist, making the same parts every day and working directly with a machine. As you can also imagine, I was definitely the only 19-year-old girl in the entire plant, but my mentors and coworkers were extremely supportive, which I am very thankful for. So last year at the same company, I acted as more of a quality engineering intern, where I learned the importance of optimizing machining processes and how to balance quality with speed of production. I got to pretty much take over the entire process for the same part that I worked on the summer previously. So it was really a good experience to see both sides of the situation from engineering and a machinist viewpoint. So at school, I'm very involved in the MSU Baja racing team, where we design, build, and compete with an off-road vehicle every year. Pretty much since this year, I was the only girl on the team, but I've also been the team's composites and ergonomics lead since I joined, and next year I look forward to being the team's suspension manager. Being a part of this team has given me a lot of hands-on manufacturing experience that I couldn't have gotten in a typical classroom setting, and my prior experience has definitely helped out with this as well. So this summer I'm extremely excited to have accepted a position at Ford as a product development intern. I'm especially glad to have my manufacturing experience as a background for things that I will design and test this summer. So again, thank you very much. It's definitely an inspiration for me to see so many talented women in the manufacturing industry to look up to during today's celebration. So thank you.
Thank you, Kylie and Diana. You are inspirational. Just incredible speakers, and thank you so much for being here. Go Green! Go White! Go MSU, and let's keep our manufacturing momentum going. Thank you again for being here. Now please help give me a warm welcome to Rachel Huber, Quality Manager at Lansing Grand River Assembly.
Hi, good afternoon, everyone. So thank you for joining me for this great day where we can celebrate women in manufacturing. It's an honor to share this podium and share this time with the many Rosies and other exceptional ladies here today. I'm Rachel Huber, the Quality Manager at General Motors Lansing Grand River Assembly, just down the road here. We produce the CT4 and CT5 luxury Cadillac sedans. My team is responsible for the quality inspection to the vehicles prior to them being shipped, across the country or across the globe to our customers. And I'm proud to say that one of our vehicles just won top honors in customer loyalty in its class. To all the girls and young women out there, I'm here to tell you that you belong in manufacturing. Whether it's inline, production, skilled trades, or engineering and management, you will find a very rewarding career. I've worked for General Motors since graduating from Michigan State, go Green, go White, almost 25 years ago, following in the footsteps of my father, who worked for General Motors in the Detroit area, but also in a couple of different locations as well. With the company, I've grown personally by collaborating with others and continuously learning new things. I've had the privilege of working for 2 female plant managers right here in the city of Lansing. I've also worked directly and indirectly with many more incredible women. It's been awesome to be able to see yourself or see myself in the shoes or with somebody who holds key positions, even like our chair and CEO, Mary Barra. I challenge you to look for a job where you have people who will serve as your role models and guide you to your success. To me, the best part of manufacturing is that you see what you and your team accomplish every day. And in my role, as vehicles drive off the assembly line, it's very rewarding. You have the satisfaction of knowing that despite all the challenges that you may have faced that shift, that you met your goals, and now truckloads of high-quality vehicles are on their way to their customers. It's fast-paced, it's dynamic, and it requires you to prioritize well and juggle competing needs. But you're always exploring ways to improve operations and continuously improve, both in your relationships with others as well as yourself. The best piece of advice that I can offer to people early in their career or about to enter the workplace is that relationships really do matter. We know that is true in our personal lives, but it's also very pertinent professionally. That as a leader, you have the ability to be able to engage people in their work as well as keep them motivated to ensure success. Even as a company as large as General Motors, I regularly find myself interacting with the same people I've worked with in the past. So it's critical to treat people as you would like to be treated. At times it can be challenging to balance career and caring for young children and supporting your family. But I've appreciated the willingness of my leaders to work with me and find solutions that allow me to thrive. I encourage you to be willing to engage your managers and find a healthy work-life balance. This has strengthened my resilience to work through challenges and still remain successful. Finally, to all the Rosies and all the women who have blazed a trail in manufacturing before me, just know that I am so grateful and thank you for everything that you've done. Women in manufacturing have shown that we can be strong leaders to continue to shape the industry globally. Thank you.
Thank you, and we're glad we have GM in this town. Manufacturing in Michigan is the heartbeat of our economic vitality, playing a pivotal role in job creation and technological innovation, solidifying its significance as a cornerstone for our state's prosperity. Please welcome their team.
Good afternoon. Thank you so much. My name is Delaney McKinley, and I work for the Michigan Manufacturers Association, and we have been the voice and the champion of Michigan manufacturing for over 120 years. I am so grateful to be here today to share in this collective reverence and acknowledgement. I've been profoundly inspired by the spirit that echoes in the stories of resilience and empowerment of all those that have paved the way for us. I personally have had the blessing of an abundance of remarkable women leaders in my life, many of whom are here today, from the elders in my family who rolled up their sleeves and did what they had to do with no fanfare, often no recognition, to the mentors that fueled my own passion for advocacy and for manufacturing, and the inspiring leaders that I see in companies and organizations across our great state. It is my honor to introduce two such great leaders that I have the great fortune of working with every day, Alyssa Olson and Ashley Wakefield.
Thank you, Delaney, and thank you, Ashley and Cindy, for having me this morning. The year was 1941. My grandfather, Russell Olson, was stationed at Pearl Harbor, and meanwhile, my grandmother, Sally, Olga Olson, was making ammunition. And I just learned that story this month when I traveled to visit my family. I've always known about my grandmother, Verno, Bowen, who was making trucks during the war. She was a welder, and she's always been my sort of iconic role model, if you will. Her hard work and stick-to-itiveness was always a inspiration to me. As my grandfather was Private Bowen, he was on the beach at Normandy in 1944 when the Allies were fighting against the powers of tyranny. And I'm so grateful to you, Rosies, and what you've done to bring this forward and come and be a part of this celebration today. This is about you, and I appreciate you and honor you today. So thank you for being here, and thank you everyone for coming and celebrating Rosies all over. We can do it.
Thank you, Alyssa. Well, as you know, an event like this would not be possible without sponsors and partners to make it happen. And so please help me thank our sponsors, or a few of them: Athena Win, Dowding Industries, Junior Achievement, Lansing Regional Chamber of Commerce, Munters, Black Rock Resources, Eaton Risa, Jackson Area Manufacturers Association, Sweet Encounter Bakery, Bay Aranac ISD, Great Lakes Bay Manufacturers Association, Capital Area Manufacturing Council, and especially our host and MC, Sherry Jones, with WLNS Channel 6. Now, please help me welcome another great woman leader, Ingrid Tai with the Michigan Manufacturing Technology Center.
Hello, everybody. Are you hanging in there? I know it's cold. Stay warm, stay warm. Okay. Thank you. My name's Ingrid Tai, and as they mentioned, I'm the president of the Michigan Manufacturing Technology Center, and it's an honor to be here, and I have one of my 4 sons here joining me today, and he's really excited for the flyover here shortly, so that's the big highlight. So throughout history, courage, innovation, and tenacity have been the values that move our state and our nation forward. As a woman who served in the military overseas during wartime, and now who is leading a manufacturing consulting organization, I am proud of our nation's resilience and excited to carry the torch for the women of the past who have helped us move our nation forward. The women Rosie the Riveter depicted were important in many ways. For them, though, "We can do it" was more than a slogan. It was a rallying cry for women everywhere to contribute whatever they could to save our country and sustain our communities. It was also a recruitment effort that would ultimately change the face of U.S. manufacturing industry. By taking on traditionally male jobs in the in the factories and shipyards, women made U.S. and allied victories possible. And they demonstrated that women's competence and talent at a time when we were too often relegated to a select few career fields, that we could again do it. As Newsweek reported in 1943, there are practically no jobs, it has been found, that cannot be adapted for women workers. They are in the shipyards, lumber mills, steel mills, foundries, and they are welders, electricians, mechanics, and even boilermakers. They operate streetcars, buses, cranes, and tractors. The impact of our greater society was significant, and between 1940 and 1945, the female percentage of the U.S. workforce increased from 27 to nearly 37%. And by 1945, nearly 1 out of every 4 married women was working outside the home. Women in action in the factories and shipyards, and as military members and Red Cross volunteers overseas, we boosted the women's equality and independent movements. They also paved the way for women like me to serve and lead, first over as a U.S. Army officer in places like Kosovo and then Baghdad, Iraq. And today, leading an organization that provides essential training and support to small and mid-sized manufacturers. World War II also cemented Michigan's reputation as a manufacturing powerhouse and showed how mechanical innovation could change the world. The same ingenuity that birthed the assembly line helped Michigan transform its extensive manufacturing infrastructure into a hub for wartime production. And Willow Run in particular, I can't talk, my lips are cold. Willow Run in particular leveraged automotive manufacturing practices to rapidly produce the B-24 Liberator, the largest bomber aircraft in history. At peak production, workers churned out roughly 1 plane per hour. Visionary engineers and manufacturers also tweaked and transformed automobile engines into power tanks, jeeps, amphibious vehicles, and other wartime innovations. For the duration of the war, Michigan workers and factories, especially in Detroit, produced roughly 30% of the war products created in the United States. World War II demanded that Michigan manufacturers innovate and adapt, and today they are still reinventing themselves. We are reimagining the processes, and we are securing Michigan's future as a leader in the industry. A physical reminder of how far we've come, that same Willow Run facility that I just mentioned that produced that infamous Liberator is now used to test autonomous vehicles. World War II gave Americans a glimpse of a new version of our nation, one where we leverage the talents of all of our citizens and fully invest in innovation. Today, we have the chance to take this legacy a step further, from attracting women to STEM fields like we have back here, to using advanced technology to revolutionize the way we manufacture. And as in generations past, we have the chance to ensure Michigan plays a starring role in our new industrial revolution. And I'm proud to be here to help lead this change, inspired by the tireless women that are all standing out here and behind me right now. And I'm so proud and honored to be here with some Rosies today that came from that World War II generation and throughout our history that are dedicated to bolstering this Michigan manufacturing today and tomorrow. So let's remake Michigan together. Thank you.
Okay, I'm a little shorter. Okay, please help me thank the rest of our sponsors. Elro Steel for the heat today. Yeah, we needed some heat today. Impression 5 Science Center, Tinker Lab, Ari Oates Transportation Museum, Michigan National Guard, Michigan Manufacturing and Technology Center, Girl Scouts Heart of Michigan. Woo! Buy their cookies, everyone. Okay, Martin Waymeyer, Repanew Tool, who brought riveting machines over here. If you don't know what a riveter is, please stop over there. Fox 47 and Morning Blend, Sandlot Apparel, and the team at the Michigan State Capitol. If you were a volunteer today, please wave your hand. Taffy and Rachel especially have been here with me from 9 o'clock bouncing people out of their parking spots, so high five to them. I want to let you know that after our presentation today, we will have a flyover from the Michigan Mentors T-34 flight team organized by Ron Staley. And it will include 2 female pilots. Dr. Lisa Coletti and Dr. Tracy Tillman from Howell and Todd Eby from Goshen, Indiana. Next, please help me welcome a friend that you may remember from last year. Her name is Liz, and she is here to share a story about her grandmother. If you've noticed, her child's grown a little bit in the last year.
All right, let's see if I can get through it this year. Eleanor Bukowski was born in the Thumb area of Michigan, February 23rd, 1922. She was the 4th oldest of 10 children. Her family had a small farm, but not much else. She completed her 8th grade graduation and then quit school to help at home. Granny didn't talk much about growing up, but she did tell a few stories. One of her favorite ones that she used to horrify us grandkids, and then later her great-grandkids with, was how they were too poor for her to have shoes. It wasn't a problem in the summer when she was barefoot on the farm, but in the winter her feet would freeze. So she would solve that problem by standing in fresh, warm, and still steaming cow pies. With experiences like that, it's no surprise that in 1942, when she was 20, she took the chance to move in with her aunt and uncle in Detroit and get a job at the Briggs Connor Manufacturing Company. Granny worked at the factory for over 3 years and enjoyed her work so much that she eventually talked her sister Marie into joining her. During her 3 years at the factory, she held 4 different positions there. When she first started, she was a riveter. She riveted onto the wings of planes. After that, she was responsible for drilling and burring the machines, where she would be the one to drill a hole, deburr it right away in order to clean up the metal shavings and smooth out the drilled hole, and then rivet the pieces back together. Her 3rd job at the factory was doing repair work on rejected pieces. She would remove rivets, take the pieces to be inspected for flaws, and then re-rivet using salvaged pieces. After VJ Day, she switched positions again this time, becoming a buck welder, which she was especially proud of because you had to be very small and thin in order to fit into those tight spots. She worked at the factory even after she married my grandfather, until they closed her department months after the end of the war. For most of Granny's time at the factory, secrecy was paramount. The windows of the factory floor were blacked out. The workers couldn't talk to anyone about what they did. No photos could be taken inside. And there were even armed military guards stationed throughout the factory to prevent workers from walking freely among the different departments. Once, when Granny had gone home to the farm for the weekend, she got a ride back to work with a male cousin who worked in a different department. He took her to his entrance, and as she was walking through the factory to get to her department, armed guards stopped her and demanded to see her ID and her work badge. Once they ascertained who she was and that she was supposed to be working, they escorted her to her station and gave her a strict warning to not go wandering around the plant again. In Granny's department, there were 24 or so women who worked on her shift with her. There were also 2 to 3 men who worked with her and a couple of male supervisors. These men were typically older or had a physical limitation that prevented them from joining military service. On her nights off, Granny would occasionally go out with some girlfriends who worked with her, but they had to be very careful to not talk about work at all. On one of those nights out, in late spring of 1945, she met my grandfather, Chester Paskowski, shortly after he was honorably discharged from the military. Granny and Gramps married in August 18th, 1945. On their marriage certificate, Granny's occupation was listed as riveter. Granny kept working after she got married, but things in the factory began to change. After VJ Day, the windows weren't blacked out. Workers were a little more free to talk about their job, and photos were allowed in the common break room. 2 of the photos that Granny had were from celebrations in the fall of '45. One was a bridal shower that they threw for one of her coworkers who was marrying one of the men they worked with, and the other was their Thanksgiving celebration. After the war, Granny and Gramps had 2 daughters, Diane and Judy, and they settled into daily post-war life. They remained in Metro Detroit, where Gramps worked for the auto factories, eventually retiring from Chrysler, and Granny raised their girls. As the girls got older, Granny went back to work and worked for years at Arlen's department store, and then at a school cafeteria until her retirement. Gramps never talked about his military service, but Granny would gladly talk about her time as a Rosie. I remember sitting in their kitchen when I was little, looking at the pictures of Granny in her uniform, and especially marveling at those photos because, as Gramps always said, she was a looker. Her daily uniform was dark-colored slacks, any top, her hair tied up in a bandana, and, in her words, those ugly, hard work boots that I always hated. She never understood why I loved Doc Martens. In 2015-2016, Granny realized that there was a resurgence of people talking about Rosies, and she wanted to be part of that conversation. We tried to talk her into joining the Rosies on the first all-Rosie honor flight to D.C., but she hesitated. Later, she regretted that because, as she said, and no offense to any of the women who attended, but they were a bunch of old ladies, and she could have run circles around them. She was 94 when she said that, so she wasn't quite the spring chicken that she claimed. But after that, she began to attend local and not so local events put on by colleges and the American Rosie the Riveter Association. She loved telling people her story. We applied and were accepted by the Library of Congress for Granny to be interviewed for her work for the National Archives. In October 2017, we were there to set the world record for the most people dressed as Rosie the Riveter. Granny was honored as an original Rosie, and that day was the highlight of her life. In true Granny fashion, she loved all the attention that she got. From the 24 family and friends who surprised her, it was the first time that our family successfully kept a secret, to the cheering crowds, the parade into the arena, the ceremony. The interviews that she did for various podcasts, and all the photos that people took of her, especially the photographer that she claimed was flirting with her. She was so excited afterwards every time I called her to let her know what news outlet our photos were in next, including the Detroit News, the Free Press, the Washington Post, and quite a few online sites. She said she felt like a queen for a day. I will forever, this is where you got me last time. I will forever be thankful for that opportunity to celebrate Granny, because less than 2 months later, it was discovered that she had cancer. She passed away in February 2018, a week shy of her 96th birthday. She never got to do that interview for the National Archives, but her name is on the Rosie the Riveter honor wall at Yankee Air Museum, and I know she would be thrilled with me being here today to tell her story.
Thank you, Elizabeth. You brought a lot of smiles to us, especially to our Rosies down here. So thank you for that. Right now, I'd like us all to acknowledge our military. I'd like to just have everyone, if you are with us right now, could you raise your hand and let us applaud you and thank you for your service. Thank you so much. I would also ask that we pause right now and join together in a moment of profound gratitude and respect for all of our veterans and those currently serving in our military, because of their sacrifice and their dedication, of course, deserve our utmost honor and our recognition. So if you would please pause with me in a moment of silence and reflection. Thank you so much. Jeanette?
Thank you, Sherry. Hello again. And we have some very special people here today that I mentioned earlier, our Rosie the Riveters of World War II, and I would like to introduce you to them. On the far left here, we have Virginia Rush from Detroit, Michigan, who worked at Republic Aircraft during the war, building military airplanes. Big hand for Virginia. And next to her, we have Delphine Clayput, who worked during the war at Glen L. Martin in Maryland, assembling aircraft. And let's have a big cheer for Rosie Delphine. Delphine to keep things going. And next to Delphine, we have Rosie Joan Finley, and Joan demonstrates that everyone pulled together during World War II. She was only a child, but she did critical work in her father's grocery store as she counted ration stamps to send to the government. Rosie Joan Finley. And then next to Joan, we have Rosie the Riveter, Virginia Bassler, who worked during World War II at the Willow Run bomber plant. And as if she wasn't doing enough to serve her country, Virginia also enlisted in the United States Coast Guard SPARS. Now, the service was it wasn't until World War II that the armed forces admitted women. So Virginia was one of the first women to join up for a branch of the armed forces, and so she's also a World War II veteran. Big hand for Virginia Bassler. I'd like to take a moment to acknowledge all of you out there who may have a Rosie in the family. What an honor to have a Rosie in the family, and give yourselves a big hand. And we're so proud of all of the Rosies. Aren't we, Cindy?
Okay, this is the part where I give instructions, and we move slowly together. So we're going to have the Rosies in a moment turn around and face Michigan Avenue. And then everyone who's in attendance is going to come up the side steps, and we're going to assemble here on the steps. Then we're going to see a couple of things. The National Guard will be out here. Our Rosie friends over here. We've got our drill team going. We're going to sing some songs together, and we're going to do all that swiftly because the flyover is going to be at 5:15. So, slowly and surely, we're going to have the Rosies turn around. If you are a family member of a Rosie, you may come and stand behind them. If you are a Rosebud, yep, please come stand behind them. Everyone else, please come up the side steps. Everyone behind me, please start moving forward down the stairs. You're going to want to scooch down.